Welcome to section 19.1, part 1. This is the 193rd session of the CISSP exam prep series. In this session, we'll open the world of security investigations. We'll answer several questions. Why does an incident sometimes turn into a formal inquiry? What are the 4 investigation types you must know? How does evidence get exchanged before a trial? What makes evidence admissible in court? And what forms can that evidence take? Why does this matter beyond the exam? Because the day you mishandle evidence is the day a case falls apart. Imagine a retailer discovers a payment terminal was tampered with. If you seize that terminal carelessly, a court may throw out everything you found, handle it correctly, and your work stands up under scrutiny. You are the person who decides which of those futures happens. Why does a routine incident sometimes become a formal investigation? Because the stakes are not always small. Many incidents are minor enough to close with a quick judgment call. But when the damage or the threat is serious, you need a rigorous inquiry. The moment it turns formal, procedure becomes everything. Sloppy steps can violate someone's rights, sink a prosecution, or expose you to legal action. Picture a small kitchen fire versus a full arson case. One you handle yourself, the other demands careful documentation. What are the main types of investigation you need to recognize? There are 4 big ones, and each carries its own standard of proof. Administrative investigations look inward at operations and policy. Criminal investigations pursue alleged violations of criminal law. Civil investigations resolve disputes between 2 parties. And regulatory investigations handle possible breaches of administrative law. Think of them as 4 different courtrooms, each with its own bar to clear. Match your rigor to the room you are heading toward. What is an administrative investigation? It is an internal inquiry into operations or a policy violation. Sometimes it is pure troubleshooting, like tracing why a fleet of servers keeps slowing down. That is an operation investigation, and it carries the loosest evidence standards because the goal is simply to fix the problem. These often include a root cause analysis to stop the issue from returning. But watch closely. An operational dig can suddenly uncover an intrusion and flip into a criminal case. When an administrative matter may end in sanctions against a person, you raise the standard and consult your legal team early. What sets a criminal investigation apart? Its stakes are the highest, so its evidence rules are the strictest. These are usually run by law enforcement and can end with charges and prosecution. Most criminal cases must meet the beyond a reasonable doubt standard. That means the facts must leave no other logical conclusion than guilt. Because of that towering bar, collection and preservation have to be flawless. Think of it like building a bridge that must hold enormous weight. Every bolt has to be traceable and tight. How is a civil investigation different? It clears a lower bar, so its rigor is lighter. Civil work usually skips law enforcement and relies on internal staff and outside consultants supporting a legal team. The goal is to resolve a dispute between 2 parties in civil court. Here the standard is preponderance of the evidence, not reasonable doubt. You only need to show the outcome is more likely than not. Picture a tug of war where the rope only has to lean one way. What happens in a regulatory investigation? A government agency steps in when it suspects a violation of administrative law. Regulators set their standard of proof to match the venue where they expect to argue the case. These inquiries vary widely in scope and are often run by government agents. And here is a twist. Some regulatory-style investigations involve no government at all. They flow from industry standards, like the rules that protect payment card data. Those rules are contracts, not laws, but failing an audit under them can still bring fines. Treat an industry-standard probe with the same seriousness as a government one. How does evidence get shared before a case reaches court? Through a process called discovery, where each side must preserve and exchange relevant information. When that information lives in digital form, we call it electronic discovery. There is a widely used reference model that lays out this work in 9 stages. It moves from governing your information and identifying what is relevant through preserving, collecting, and processing it, then into review, analysis, production, and finally presentation. Think of it as a factory line that turns a mountain of raw data into a clean, court-ready exhibit. It demands tight teamwork between your technical staff and your lawyers. What makes evidence admissible in a court of law? A judge weighs it against 3 tests before it ever reaches open court. First, it must be relevant, meaning it helps establish a fact. Second, that fact must be material, meaning it truly connects to the case. Third, the evidence must be competent, meaning it was obtained legally. Evidence pulled from an illegal search fails that last test and gets tossed. Picture a bouncer at a door checking 3 items before anyone walks in. Miss one, and you stay outside. What forms can evidence actually take? You should know 4 major categories. Real evidence is a physical object you can carry into the room, like a seized laptop. Documentary evidence is written material offered to prove a fact, like a system log. Testimonial evidence is what a witness swears to under oath. And demonstrative evidence is a visual aid that helps explain a concept to a jury. Think of them as 4 different tools in a toolbox, each suited to a different job. Each category also carries its own extra rules for getting in. What counts as real evidence, and how do you prove it is genuine? Real evidence is a tangible object brought before the court, from a keyboard with fingerprints to a suspect's hard drive. But an object alone is not enough. It must be authenticated as unique and unaltered from the moment of collection. When no witness can personally vouch for it, you rely on a chain of custody. That chain documents every single hand the item passes through, with time, date, location, and reason logged at each step. Everyone who touches it signs off. Picture a relay baton that can never be dropped or swapped. An unbroken chain is what keeps that object credible. What special rules govern documentary evidence? Written material must clear 2 extra hurdles beyond the basic tests. The best evidence rule says you generally must produce the original document, not a copy or a summary. The parole evidence rule says that once an agreement is written down, that written version holds all the terms, and no side deal spoken aloud can change it. There is also a catch with documents. A log usually needs a witness, like the administrator who kept it, to confirm it was captured as normal business practice. Think of it like a sealed original contract in a safe. The photocopy on your desk simply does not carry the same weight. What is testimonial evidence, and where are its limits? It is simply what a witness tells the court, spoken live or captured in a sworn deposition. Every witness takes an oath and must speak from personal knowledge, though they may glance at notes to jog their memory. Most witnesses are held to direct evidence, meaning only what they themselves observed. There is one important exception. A person the court accepts as an expert may offer an opinion built on the facts and their deep field knowledge. Think of the difference between a bystander who saw the crash and an engineer who can explain why the brakes failed. So let's bring it together. Investigations turn formal when the stakes rise, and each type carries its own standard of proof, from loose administrative work to strict criminal cases. Before trial, discovery moves evidence between the parties, with electronic discovery running through 9 defined stages. To be admissible, evidence must be relevant, material, and competent, and it arrives as real, documentary, testimonial, or demonstrative, each authenticated by rules like the chain of custody. Master these foundations, and the hands-on forensics ahead will click into place. The MCQs covering all the topics and concepts from this session are available on rucloud.com. Practice the chapter-specific MCQs before moving on to the next session. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions or feedback, post a comment below or email us. I will see you in the next session.